What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate support. Guys, we've been following a story out there in Cleveland, Mississippi at Delta State University, in which this young man you see up here, Trey Reed, was found hanging from a tree earlier this week. Now, we've heard from the family, some family members, their lawyers, legal representation. This news broke about an hour ago. Delta State University, the president and our chief of police, had a press conference for the media to answer some more questions and give updates and details as far as the investigation goes, as far as what happened to Trey Reed. So, guys, take a look at it. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think.
We do have breaking news this morning. Delta State leaders are addressing the recent hanging death of a student. Let's go ahead and listen in what we know about this case.
It was discovered, has stirred many emotions in this community and many emotions around the state and the nation. While the preliminary report of the Bellair County Coroner's Office indicates no evidence of foul play, we recognize that this is not only about facts. It's about emotions and it's about feelings. And the way this loss and how it was discovered affects people's lives. And I'll further say that I admit that I am not adequate to speak to the imagery that this incident raises. I acknowledge my weakness in that regard. The second point I'd like to make before I turn it over to law enforcement is that the university and I personally have been in regular, frequent contact with next of kin. And I'll say, for those of you who are not used to how universities work, I'll take a moment to explain. When a student comes to this university, or almost any university in America, they fill out a contact form. This applies to Trey Reed and applies to every other student at Delta State. The student chooses who to indicate is their personal contact. The student tells us their next of kin. And from the moment we discovered this, and from the moment law enforcement was engaged, 7:30 in the morning on Monday, this university has been in regular, frequent contact with the next of kin. Now we'll go ahead and acknowledge that the student always chooses their next of kin. Trey Reed gave us two names and the contact information for the people he wanted to be contacted in the event of emergency. And we have maintained contact with those two people. And I know this may seem like some kind of legalistic distinction, but this is how we have to operate. This is a choice made by the student, and a choice made by the student has to be respected even when the student's no longer with us. And I also acknowledge that there is a distinction between next of kin and family. And I acknowledge that both next of kin and family are grieving. But from the point of view of doing this correctly and right, and respecting the students' wishes, the university has been and will continue to be in direct contact with Trey's chosen names. And those individuals, they can choose to do what they will with the information and the communication we give them. So I ask everyone to please be respectful in the sense that this was a choice the student made, and the university is respecting his choice. He told us who he wanted us to talk to in the event of an emergency, and that's what we continue to do. And I can go ahead and say that I recognize that there is family, and some family are not the names that Trey gave us. I'm so sorry. We are sharing all the information we can, and we will continue to work through the people that this student chose when he put his name on that form and he said, who do you want the university to contact in the event of emergency? And that's the kind of protocol that almost every university in America would follow. And if we do not follow that protocol, I don't think we're being respectful to the choice the student made. In other matters, I will go ahead and say that the university continues to completely cooperate with multiple law enforcement agencies represented behind me. and that in every request regarding information, regarding evidence, regarding anything connected with this incident, we have been fully forthcoming and will continue to be so. And lastly, I want to say that we have to think about our losses and we have to think about our current students. So we are simultaneously grieving, we are simultaneously processing, and I think every minute about Trey. But I also have to think about my 2,800 other students and protect them as well. In that regard, we've been very grateful that we have had increased law enforcement presence on this campus. And unfortunately, that's because this campus has received threats. And my message to that regard would be, we have students here. They came here to get an education. And folks who threaten the institution are hurting the students. And we don't want that. We're supposed to be a place where students come to feel safe and to learn. That's our mission, and that's what we'll continue to do. With that, I will turn this over to Chief Bellair, who will address the investigation. Thank you.
Good morning. Delta State University Police continues to mourn the tragic loss of Trey Reed. Our hearts remain with his family, friends, and all who are affected during this deeply painful time. Following the discovery of deceased on campus on Monday morning, and the release of Bellair County Coroner's official statement, his body has been transported to the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's office. The Chief Medical Examiner began conducting a full autopsy this morning. Preliminary results are expected to be available within the next 24 to 48 hours. This joint investigation remains active, and the Delta State University Police is in full cooperation with all agencies involved. This is an isolated incident. Due to the support of the state and local law enforcement and the increased law enforcement presence here at Delta State, there are currently no active threats to the campus, and the university remains a safe environment for students, faculty, and staff. Delta State Police, in conjunction with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, Bellair County Sheriff's Office, and Cleveland Police Department, plans to provide another update once preliminary findings are released and the university officials have met privately with the next of kin. Out of respect for those grieving, we ask for continued patience and compassion as this investigation proceeds. Again, we extend our deepest condolences to those impacted by this tragedy. Support services remain available for anyone in need of assistance. And again, this deeply saddens us. He's one of ours. And so our hearts go out. We mourn as well. At this time, are there any questions?
Chief, Martin Scott from Fox 13 News in Memphis. First question that comes out is, how was the statement foul play has been ruled out so soon when you just said a preliminary coroner's report hasn't even been released?
Thank you for your question. Again, the statement was initially, at this point, we didn't believe or have evidence of foul play.
Chief Ross Adams, 16 WAQT at Jackson. You talk about, again, the initial report about a no foul play. Did you personally put your eyes on the student's body, and how can you make a determination by making a physical observation without having any knowledge about what happened to that person's body?
Well, with the combined effort of Delta State Police, Cleveland PD, Bellair County Sheriff's Office, yes, did we lay eyes on the student? I did. I was there. I'm one of the first on the scene. And then, again, it's an ongoing investigation.
Okay, but when you're asking my question, and you're including all these different agencies, I'm asking about you, the head of the Delta State Police.
Again, I was there. I was the second officer from my department on the scene.
Yesterday, Trey's grandfather said that the first call he received, the officer told him that Trey was found in his room. But then the next call he received, and I'm quoting him, they said he hung himself. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, I don't have any knowledge of any calls that the grandfather received. I know I did speak to the grandfather for the next of kin, and outside of that, I can't answer what calls he received and who he received them from.
Chief, do any videos exist? There have been reports of alleged videos?
There are videos, and they're in the hands of the investigative team. Right now, Cleveland PD is leading the investigation. This is our investigation, but they're leading in the investigation.
So there was surveillance video that captured what happened to Trey on campus at the time of his death?
I can't speak at that at this moment. Again, there is a video, but it's still, the investigation is ongoing.
Is there surveillance video that would have captured what happened in that area where his body was found in the pickleball courts?
Again, there's video out there, and we can't speak to that at this moment. It's still an ongoing investigation.
Sounds like a
Yes.
vague
Can you
answer,
talk about
Chief.
the threats that remain from campus that the university president alluded to?
Just the fact that, again, emotions are arising, people are calling, and I don't have a specific threat yet, but again, the threats may be phone calls that staff and students are receiving, but specific threats, I don't have those at this time.
Could we get President Ennis to address those specific threats, because you talked about the increased law enforcement, and can you tell us the nature of the threats that have been received?
So we will defer to law enforcement regarding whether these threats are credible. Right now, the law enforcement behind me and those joining with Delta State have declared the campus remains safe. I don't need to point you all to people on social media saying things about this campus, some of which sound threatening. We hope that they would stop entirely. Law enforcement will determine if anybody is really a credible threat to the campus. They can run down names. They can figure out if someone is simply being a troll online or whether there's somebody who might actually take action. At this point, we don't have any credible threats that I'm aware of, and law enforcement will let me know. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt when someone calls the office and says that this is a terrible place and that people should be hurt. And I hope that that's just empty threats, but offices' phones are ringing. And unfortunately, and I'll go ahead and say this, like many universities, our phones are manned mostly by student workers. So can you imagine a student worker, 19-year-old sophomore, who's got a part-time job answering an office phone, a totally normal thing on a college campus, picks up the phone and someone uses profanity and says something that implies violence. So we have had to change our whole protocol regarding answering the phone, and the same for online posts. And looking the balance between free speech, people can of course get online and say what they want, and protecting our students and faculty and staff. So I reiterate what the chief said. Our law enforcement experts are following every lead, and they're analyzing every post and every phone call to see if there's a credible threat.
Sir, Martin Staunton, Fox 13 Memphis. In the current climate, in the dismantling of DEI programs across the country on college and university campuses, how would you describe the state of race relations here at Delta State University in the student body?
One of the things I love about Delta State is that it's what America should be. I've got 40% African American students, and they eat and play and work and learn beside white people. And yeah, there's always tensions in every college campus. There's always disagreements. I was in the gym the other night playing pickup basketball. I know it's hard to imagine, but And the pickup basketball just happened to be 3 white guys, one of which was me, and 3 black guys. And that was not remarkable. That was not unusual on this campus. I'm not saying this is heaven, but I'm saying I can walk into my cafeteria right now and see black people and white people eating together. I walk into my classroom on Tuesday morning, and I didn't count heads, but my classroom looked like America. And so I can't speak to the hearts of how individual students are reacting to this. I can say that my heartbreak is comprehensive, not just for Trey, although it is primarily for Trey, but for the fact that the rest of the world has an impression of Delta State that is so at odds with what I know to be this institution. This institution should not be associated with hate or hate crimes. If people knew this place, they look at it and say, wouldn't it be better if America was more like Delta State University? And we'll continue to be that in our little community, and the rest of the world will not know the joy and the grace of people living and working together and respecting each other. I'm not going to speak to the larger issue, DEI. I'll say we should live in a world where we don't need anything but decency and respect. And I feel that at this place, or I wouldn't be here. Richard Wright. And those of you from out of state, you should know that Mississippi has produced extraordinary authors, and Richard Wright is one of the best from Natchez. Richard Wright said that history comes on us, and it surges up, and it's fused and tangled. And so I acknowledge that this history, the imagery, is fused and tangled in people's identities. And sometimes we can't unknot it, we can't untangle it. But here is one of the best places to start to pick at that knot and to acknowledge that situation and to build off of it. So I've gone a little further than your question. I thank you for your question. But I have faith that our students will model the better angels that we all should have.
A follow-up to this question, specifically, has there been recent incidents of racial tension on campus?
Not that I'm aware of it.
Reed's family has retained a lawyer, and they said they want to launch an independent investigation. Do you be willing to cooperate with that?
Delta State will cooperate with any investigation related to this incident. But I reiterate that our duty is to engage with the next of kin when it comes to who I speak to and what information I give and what questions I answer.
So are those next of kin, are they family members, those 2 individuals that you all have been speaking with?
They're the individuals that Trey chose as his emergency contacts and next of kin. They can decide if they want to be public. I will not make them public because that's their choice and their privacy.
I have a question for Chief Martin Stump, again, Fox 13 Memphis. So if the autopsy is underway, it sounded like as we speak, when will that body be available for the independent autopsy that the family announced, and they're asking for that announcement coming yesterday?
Again, as soon as we receive we expect in the next 24 to 48 hours, we'll have the results. I'm not sure at this time when that will be available to the family or the public. At this time, I don't have that information.
Will that be the preliminary? Will that be, you said that will be the preliminary?
Preliminary, yes.
How long will it take to get the definitive result of the autopsy?
Don't have that information.
And Chief, we know the body was found Monday morning. Do we know when the hanging took place? Was it sometime Sunday?
That's still being investigated right now.
I have one more question for the President. Sir, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
My name is Dan Ennis, E-N-N-I-S.
Thank you.
It rhymes with tennis, not other words.
I feel your emotion. How are the other students handling it? What counseling services are being given to the rest of the student body here, especially among the friends of Trey?
I want to give credit and thanks to our entire student support services. That includes our student affairs, our counselors, our coaches, our faculty. Basically, any person on this campus who works at Delta State has opened themselves up to students formally and officially and professionally for our Counseling Services Center. And our counselors, of course, were on duty. They're always on duty, but they've been on extra duty. But then, of course, some students reach out to their coach. They reach out to a professor. And we have had frequent communication about being sensitive and directing students to professional help. And I think that's one of the things that we will never, ever get perfect, but universities always try to be more perfect at, which is connecting students with counseling and professional help when they need it. And we know, I'm talking in general terms about college students now, I'm not speaking to this case, we know that students walk around with invisible burdens, and when they even become a bit visible, we have to give them someone to talk to. I also want to thank our colleagues at other Mississippi universities. We have been offered and have accepted help of additional counseling services, other counselors from other universities, and the Cleveland City School District. They, of course, have counselors as well, and the superintendent immediately contacted me and offered those services. I'm confident we have sufficient counselors. I was in the student health office yesterday, spoke to the counselors, and while they have been steady and busy, they have not been overwhelmed. But we also know that this is not just this week, that some of the students, all the students, will need support for weeks and months to come, and we're determined to keep giving them that support.
Chief, have friends of Trey's been interviewed or talked to?
Again, that's a part of the investigation, and it's ongoing.
Chief Peter, can you tell us, you said you laid eyes, you told me earlier you laid eyes on the young man after his body was found. Is there evidence, did you see something next to the tree to indicate that he put himself up in the tree?
Again, that's an ongoing investigation. I can't, I don't have that information, nor can I share it with this.
You don't have it, you are on the scene, right? So you would have seen it.
Again, it's an ongoing investigation, and I can't answer this.
Do we know who called in, was it a student or?
Again, that's all part of the investigation, all right? And as far as disclosing names and things like that.
We'll have one more question.
We were told that the City Bureau of Investigation would be here, are they not here?
They are here.
Are they speaking?
They are here. Yes, to answer your question, they are
No, we
here.
were told they would be at the news conference and they would speak.
They are here in this room,
Are they
yes.
not speaking?
No, not at this point. They don't have an official statement at this point.
And so we don't know how Mr. Reed could have gotten up to this tree at this time?
Again, ongoing investigation.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.